just spoke to your father, now I'm speaking to you. Isn't that quite amazing, yeah? First and foremost, congratulations on reaching the final. It really was, it has been a marvellous achievement. How do you feel now about going into this final? Is it a feeling of satisfaction, or is it a feeling of, come on, let's go on and finish the job?
No, I think obviously the satisfaction was there after the win against Brisbane, but once we got back into training and refocused, all our attention turned to the final, and you're in a final, you want to win, we're competitive, and this is what we play for. So definitely wanting to win.
Now, not only the resilience that you have shown, which I spoke to, obviously your father's got a lot to do with that, being the manager. It's up to him to install that, but the actual ability that quite a few of us, including yourself, I don't want to embarrass you, Daniel Nizic in goal, Chris Payne, Glenn Treffier, the list goes on. For me, it hasn't been as, say, eye-opening as it has been for others, but there's been a general feeling for quite some time amongst NPL players around the country that they deserve a chance to compete with the A-League teams, hasn't there?
Oh, most definitely. And those names you just rattled off, they've been there. They've played at the highest level, Glenn at Mariners, Chris at Sydney FC and North Queensland, and Daniel's been overseas at numerous English clubs. But I can go further, Patrick, Antelmi, Yanni Picardis, all been in these, environments. And I think given another opportunity, a lot of them could step up and, and perform. And given this tournament, they have performed and shown their ability.
I want to start with the semi-final, then we'll go to the game against West United, the Australian champions. I went to both of those games. Both amazing. But the semi-final, again, down twice in the game. Daniel Nizic, very important penalty save as well, it must be said. But that resilience that I was speaking about with your father, which he has instilled in all of you, do you feel it as a collective one, or is this a couple like yourself, the bigger players, say Daniel Nizic, Kaneko and Chris Payne and Treffier, is it them who really drive it, or is it a real collective thing going from not only the starting 11 but people on the bench as well?
I think it has to be a collective, Mark. Like you said, we've got these big names, but it's us as a group. We stick together in the hard moments. It's not always going right, and then Daniel pulls off a penalty save at 1-1 10 seconds before half time, which then turns the momentum back in our favour. Then second half we go down, but we make a substitution and Patrick comes on and scores with his first touch. So I think it's individual moments, but as a collective we've had to stay strong. Not only in the Brisbane game, Western, and also up in Peninsula, which wasn't an easy away trip. We're not used to travelling and things like this. So I think as a group, the resilience has been excellent.
And one thing that I think that encapsulated what I was speaking about the skill and the ability, was that winning goal against Brisbane. That, for me, that was one of the goals of the whole tournament, let alone the goal, like I said, of your particular tournament.
Yeah, definitely, like quality. Even the build up to the goal. There was passes and then the cross, and then we recycled the ball, and then the individual quality from Payne with the flick, and then Tricky with the ball over his shoulder. Not easy volley for anyone to execute. But I think if you watch us in the NPL, we score goals like this. Keeping possession and whatnot. But on the big occasion, it was massive in that moment. And
let's go back that one game to Peninsula Power. Was that the fear? After beating West, sort of think, well, hang on a minute, this is, a little bit tricky. What a waste it would be if we lost after beating the Australian champions.
100%. You got that massive high, and you don't want that low. And travelling away to Peninsula, not an easy. Like we're used to our synthetic, as you said. Went up to their grass, which wasn't great. But we battled, down on a few players and whatnot. But we got an early goal, and we just stuck to it, and awesome.
Now, as great as those games were, especially the semi-final, because there was a massive crowd there. There was a big crowd as well for the game against the Australian champions, against a team managed by another friend of mine, John Aloisi. But for me, that was the defining moment when I remember walking away from Kim Tom, thinking to myself, and I know what your dad is like, thinking, and sure he's going to say this, if they can beat the Australian champions, they're going to start thinking to themselves they can beat anyone. Was that the feeling amongst the boys afterwards?
Yeah, I think we had a laugh about it. We've finished 8th in the NPL this year, but we've just beaten the Australian champions. I think that gave us the shot in the arm, as you can say, just to kick on, which we've done. It was a tough game. They really stuck it to us in the first 45. Second half, we turned the game in our favour, I thought. And then Jamie Young in extra time made a phenomenal save onto the post.
I was going to say, all right, so at that time, all right, so I'm in the main stand, and I've said to some people that are asking what I thought that was your chance. And I was just thinking to myself, if I was in those boys' position now, it'd be very difficult mentally to say, oh, that was our big chance, but you went on. Even in a penalty shootout, you're in a you're in a way where it was like it could go either way. So that belief has really stuck.
Yeah, and I think that comes from obviously the experienced boys that have played in these big games, but just putting belief in each other, just backing each other. It doesn't matter the situation. And yeah, it turned out well.
And then this is then the goalkeeper become a hero.
Massive.
Once again.
Not only in the penalty shootout that game, but more so during the game. He made some huge saves. I remember one header in extra time. He's got down to his left and just tipped it away. One of many that game. So
now the last question I want to ask you is one that's very close to my heart as well, because I remember as a youngster playing in a team that was managed by my father. What is that like? Because I remember at the time my father used to be twice as hard on me, just to make sure that he wasn't accused of being showing favoritism, so to speak. What's that like playing for Dad?
I think it's a privilege. Like, he took us over when we were in a really hard spot this year, and has gotten us to where we are today in the final this weekend. So I think all the boys really appreciate it, and he's a bit harder on me, but sometimes, but no, it's good. He's fair on everyone, and I think that's the respect he got from the boys, and that's why we are where we are.